Hello, this is Dr. Freedom. Please don't forget to subscribe and give us a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to click on the little bell icon. That way you'll be notified when the latest news videos go up. Hello everyone. Dr. Freedom here with you. And oh, come on. There's no way in hell I'm wearing this damn thing through the whole cast. There went my glasses with it. But as you all know, there's this little movie out running around. You know, you might have heard of it, called Avengers Endgame. And as of, well, today, according to this, from what I'm reading, it's now expected to cross $2 billion in the box office, with the Saturday take included. Now, we've gathered here, you know, of course, sit down, share our thoughts, have a little talk here and there about the various things that happened within this great motion picture in which you were expected to spend 3 hours and 2 minutes without taking a piss. But for all you folks who survived it, and now you cheaters who use like clothespins or, you know, catheter bags, let's get into this thing. Let's get it going. All right, when I call on your name, of course, let's go into your opening thoughts on Avengers Endgame. We're going to start at the bottom this time. Let's start with the beef-head, and let's get this thing rolling.
A hugely ambitious expedition in cinema, to be honest with you. When you think it's the culmination of so many movies, it was amazing that they managed to pull it off, that they managed to keep all them plates spinning and, you know, and tie everything up as well as they did. I suppose in 3 hours, you've got to be able to do it. And it was exceedingly well done. And it had an emotional core to it. It had a good 3-act structure, which is, you know, a hell of a bloody achievement, to be honest with you. When you have that many people on screen at the same time, I think it was really good as a fitting goodbye to the original, you know, the original set of the Avengers that you got from the first movie, to be honest with you. I think it was a great signing out moment, to be honest with you. I think as soon as you saw the end credits, very akin to what you got with Star Trek 6, as their pictures came up on screen, you still had this sign, all the autograph signatures come up, very much like you did with Star Trek. So I think that was pretty much, you know, a definite line that is the end of those guys, or certainly for the very near future. And it's good, yeah. I think it's a film about, you know, saying goodbye and how to move on, and saying all the things that you want to say if you had the time and the chance to be able to say it to the people that you wanted to. So it's got a lot of heart, this movie. You know, I don't think it's a perfect movie. I do think there are points that are sort of like a bit mishmashed and everything like that, but it's a very, very good movie nonetheless. Yeah. Oh, I was surprised the cinema was so empty when I went to see it. It really was. There's no one there at all.
All righty. Okay, let's keep it moving. Let's move on over to Ryan.
Hi, guys. So this movie blew all of my expectations out of the water. I did not expect it. I was going in a little cautiously optimistic, if I'm being honest. At this point, I'm used to things that come afterwards not delivering as well and building up on what came before. This is the perfect tipping off point to the past 11 years. I don't think it could have ended any better than it did for these characters, for these movies to go the way they've been going on for consistently for 11 years. It's just crazy to think that this was, you know, the end of this chapter of the MCU, even though Far From Home is apparently the last of phase 3. This really put a stamp on the ending of this part of the MCU. The characters we had got to say goodbye to, everyone had their moments, was filled with so many just great fan-pleasing moments, that if you've been keeping up with these movies and you've been rewatching them over the past years, it's just incredible to see that pay off in such a deeply satisfying way. And it's just a really fantastic movie. That's all I can say.
Okay. Let's move over to Connor Farley.
I'm not massive into Marvel, so this was sort of my first major foray into the franchise. I got caught up a bit in the hype. Everyone was talking about it, so I thought I'd go back and watch a few of the films. Um, and they impressed me. So obviously going into this, I had a few expectations. And to be honest, for a massive film like this, 3 hours long, which is very rare in cinema these days, and with such a huge storyline, and as Beef mentioned, 21 films to close out, it did do a good job. It really sort of, I guess, to some people that had them sort of high expectations, it did do its job, and it blew, as Ryan said, it blew some of the expectations out the water. It was that good. But I did have a few problems with it. I found the storytelling a little bit clunky in places. I thought that the way that they were time jumping was confusing. As someone, and maybe it's because of someone like me that's not experienced in the Marvel sort of universe and its storylines, I couldn't keep up. But as a sort of like epic film, a bit like, you know, Return of the King for Lord of the Rings, these big sort of climax films, it was epic. And I did like how they sort of stayed true as they could to sort of the time travel aspect of it, because as they quipped in the film itself, that a lot of the films in the past have sort of misled you onto how time travel actually works, and they tried to stay scientifically truthful to that. And it paid off. It was, you know, the realism of the film was great as well, dealing with grief. And I did like the scene where Scott Lang first appears, Ant-Man, and he comes out of the truck, and he goes to visit his daughter, and you can see all like the missing posters on the lampposts, and he obviously goes to the memorial site as well. And it just brings home that sort of realism that this is actually a massive cataclysmic event, rather than just sort of like it's that sort of superhero, it just happens and you don't really know the consequence of it because you don't believe in it, because it's not real, because it's people in pajamas basically, like tight suits fighting all the time. I was shocked, to be honest, that they killed Thanos off so early. But then obviously I guess that they brought him back, but because of the whole time travel thing. But that did shock me. But then again, I got a bit confused, even though I know that it was 5 years later, about the whole how Thor can go from that to being a bit of a hobo in like the matter of a scene. But the thing that the tearjerker for me, because she is my favourite, was Black Widow's death. I really like Black Widow, and I was so sad by that. But she did it for a good cause, obviously, to get the family back of Hawkeye. So it was, you know, it had that emotional weight to it that actually going into this with the whole Marvel experience itself, I didn't expect these Marvel films to have. So yeah, actually, it really impressed me.
All righty. Okay, let's move on over. Let's go on over to William. Shoot.
Hey now, how you doing, everybody? Yeah, we was anticipating this movie because we already saw the, last year's Infinity War. But the thing is, I was totally blown away how, even though it was 3 hours long, how they're able to close a lot of chapters from the previous movies into this. And I was totally shocked how many cameo appearances from all these actors from different movies, even some, not even maybe a minute or two, appeared in this movie. The only one that did not film any new scenes was Natalie Portman. Her scene was from the Thor movie that was not used in that film. That was just, it was not. So she didn't film nothing new. Everybody else did, and I was shocked how much of a cast they had for this movie. I was totally blown away. Like Connor said, I mean, the death of Black Widow was a total shock. But then I realized that, wait a minute, it's going to be filming a movie about her. So this is going to be from the past, or something's going to happen. Let that, when that comes out, we deal with that. But so I wasn't really sad about her death. But what happened to Tony Stark? That was a total shock. Total shock. But I'll tell you in a little while how you could come back. So, and what happened at the end with Captain America? I was that scene, and of course the scene of Thor seeing his mom again. I actually saw people in the audience crying. on those two scenes. And then, of course, as we're about to celebrate next week on Mother's Day, that I understand how seeing Thor's mom made a lot of people sad. And then when I had to think about it, I said, what happened with Steve Rogers? It made me realize that all this time that he's been with in the present time and doing all these different adventures and all that, he only had, and he still has only one love that he wanted to be with. And that was, that's that you gotta give props for that. That he ended up having what he always wanted, and still did not change history, so to speak, like that. I know, like Beef said, this is like the ending of the original cast. Now, like the big question, of course, is there going to be another Avengers movie? Of course, this movie just hit $2 billion today. They're going to make money. Now we know not all the original cast can appear again, considering we just seen some new characters popping up. And then Marvel will be making some new movies in a year or so. So we're gonna have a lot of different new characters appearing, especially in their online network and Hulu. So we're gonna see a lot of characters there. But you gotta give props. This movie that's 3 hours long. Yeah, I had to hold it when it came to the bathroom, but that's too bad. And then it was worth watching. It was worth watching it more than one time. And that's one of the things that's happening. Even a week after it came out, and a lot of people that I have talked to, they have gone and seen it more than one time. And you gotta give a movie props that's able to do that in such a quick time that you have multiple viewers like that. So I'll let other people talk a little while.
Alrighty, okay, let's keep it moving. Let's move on up over to AJ.
Hey there, everyone. I was actually quite surprised and quite happy with this movie. A lot of good points in this movie, closing out people's story arcs and whatnot. There are little bits of nitpicky I've got in this, which I can talk about later, so I don't take up time. Just, the complete and utter emotional shock of what happened to Iron Man, Captain America. With the whole thing with Captain America, though, technically you could carry his story on in the past with Peggy. You can have maybe a TV series or even a movie series. Him doing his thing, he didn't want to stop fighting the good fight. I'm not surprised this movie made over $2 billion. It was this generation's Ben-Hur, so I could see this probably going further, maybe even $3 or more billion. So good on you, Marvel.
All I know is this: somebody over at the DC office right now is still banging his head against a post, going, "Oh God, how come we couldn't do something like that?" Okay, go on ahead, Philip.
Well, having seen all the movies that have been put out by Marvel thus far, I thought this was a very good, as everybody said, a fitting ending to the whole franchise of that for now. I will say that I'm pretty pleased with the evolution of the Hulk into what we see in this movie. It's a nice little half an hour of Banner and the Hulk being a new characterization. I love that. Black Widow. Now, I've got a question about this. Since she was sacrificed, well, she sacrificed herself to it, and didn't Captain America go back and put all the stones back into their proper places at the end? If he has, where is she? Does that not mean that she gets resurrected?
Wait till the movie of Black Widow to answer that question.
Fair enough. Okay, and then and of course, the main crux of the movie was the end part with all the battle. I thought that was kind of almost biblical, because it was like bringing back raising the dead sort of thing when you read the Bible. It's kind of like that to me. It gave me that kind of visualization, and it was very good to see all that. Thanos, I felt sorry for him, to be honest. All he wanted was a universal peace and quiet. He didn't even get that, but I did feel sorry for him. But I'll give him his cue. He stood his ground for what he could. It was sad to see Tony Stark. You know what? I would have thought someone else would have copped it rather than him. I don't know why it was him they chose to chop out. To be honest, I would have been happy with someone else being the one that got sorted. But good movie. I've watched it so many times. I always know it back to front. And is there anything else? Oh, I did like how they interspliced certain scenes of different movies into this movie. That's very cleverly done. And it's not easy to do as well. You know, bits like the scene with Agent Carter, where Captain America sees him through the window, and then you've got the battle of the is it Battle of New York, where they got all the Battle of New York. That was nicely interspliced as well. So it's cleverly done, the whole movie, and it's worth its money in gold, basically.
Yeah, that's what I loved about it. You know, Avengers, you know, Marvel in general, they played the long game, and in their case, it's paying off big. And it's, you know, it was a big gamble, you know, because if, you know, for you folks who are like old farts like us, you know, remember, you know, when comic book movies were a joke. I'm not kidding. They were nowhere near the quality or, you know, even the level of storytelling. Or, you know, we didn't have CGI back then, you little wimps. So we had to do all this stuff, you know, manually with practical effects. And oh gosh, I'm still getting over that, you know, Hulk Thor thing they did on TV. God knows how many years ago. But, you know, just the fact that this has paid off so well and that these characters have come to life just, you know, still astounds the living crap out of me. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to throw the doors open. Were there any parts that really stuck out for anybody? What was your favorite part of the movie? Anybody want to hop on that?
I like to say that I like the bit where they come back, they go back in time to the New York battle, and for Hulk sees his other self being all rah, rah, and he's like, "Oh, I've got to do this sort of thing myself," but he's all like pussycat about it, like. Rah, rah. I thought that was quite funny. I like that part of it.
Okay, AJ's got his hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, for me, when I was in the cinema, I was watching with everyone, me and my wife, and that point at the end where Thor is fighting with Stormbreaker and Mjolnir, and Mjolnir goes flying back, and you see it slowly lift up off the ground like it was levitating, and everyone sees Captain America is holding it, and we were like, he did not, and then just everyone's like, yeah, and he's like beating the crap out of Thanos with Mjolnir. It was just, I think that was one of the most epic parts of the movie.
Yeah, it was. I agree with you on that. Okay, William.
Well, like AJ said, that scene with Captain America lifting Mjolnir, thanks to that, it made this comic go up to more than $60. Yay! But the other scene that stood out was weird was that Gamora came back and she doesn't remember anything with Peter Quill because that was the other Gamora, but this one came from the looped out of time thanks to her sister, which was that's another thing that stood out, that the two sisters finally got along with each other because they've been battling each other since the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. So that stood out real good. Like Phil said, that Bruce Banner and the Hope merged together, and thanks to that, I mean, this comic go over $100. Thank you, brother.
Oh my God.
And of course, even though Phil didn't like it, Tony Stark having the Infinity Gauntlet in his hand, it made this comic go up over $100. Thank you very much, mother. So you got to give him props for that. And of course, the one that started it all off is already going for $100. And then the other ones, and of course, Steve Rogers passing the shield to Sam Wilson. Yeah, I got that comment. I couldn't find it, but that's a good thing because they're gonna make a Disney Plus series out of them. So that'll be interesting to see him use the shield in that show. That'll look real good.
Can I just quickly say, anybody, you know, with all the roll call, all the people coming back from where they were, did anybody spot a little tiny Howard the Duck?
I think I know what you're talking about. I think that was, they just threw him in there, yeah.
Yeah.
I just hope they don't pick that series back up. Oh, okay. Connor, go ahead.
I think with my white male privilege, any scene that Captain Marvel didn't appear in.
Okay, Ryan, you wanted to say something, or?
Yeah, so I think as many great movie moments as it's had for the previous movies, equally as much things to throw back to comic fans. One thing that made me lose my shit was the classic Ant-Man helmet. Terrifically done. Things like Sam Wilson getting the shield. I didn't see that coming. I thought they were going to be grooming Bucky up a bit for that role. He's no longer the Winter Soldier. He didn't have that name in Infinity War, and you know got rid of the Wakanda stuff, and Infinity War kind of harkens back to what he had in First Avenger. So I'm like, maybe they're gonna step him towards Cap, but Falcon stepping up and being Cap was absolutely fine. Going back and rewatching it, you can absolutely tell Bucky knew exactly what Steve was about to do. He knew exactly he wasn't coming back from that, and I think that's just the line that got me probably the most in that scene is the line of "Don't do anything stupid till I get back. How can I? You're taking all the stupid with you," which is a fantastic callback to the first Captain America movie. But the roles are reversed, and of course the kid from Iron Man 3 showing up in at Tony's funeral at the end. A lot of people didn't know who that was, but I wonder if we're going to see more of him in the future. Kind of like taking up maybe an Iron Lad sort of role. That'd be cool. Because now we have an aged up Cassie, so maybe a young Avengers thing could happen soon. But yeah, and obviously Professor Hulk. That was such an unexpected turn for the character, and so many just cool things that relate back to the comics as well as movie moments in this one.
Okay, Beef, go on ahead.
Yeah, that's it. There's so many nice little touches that sort of round off points from the movies and everything like that. But what I did like about it, one of the things that stood out for me was that they just didn't go for a quick fix and say, right, we're going to get the Infinity Stones, we're going to basically put it back to the spot. It's a case of, no, we're going to take it and we're going to sort of bring everyone back, albeit 5 years on. So that last 5 years wasn't undone. So they didn't go for the cheap and easy form of storytelling on that. And one thing I did like about it, that I've got to give him kudos for, and I don't think people have necessarily done that enough, because a lot of the time Thor has been played for comedy throughout a lot of his movies. You got a real sense that he was going through PTSD in this, to be honest with you. The way he was in the start, and he was completely withdrawn, that he was, realizing that he couldn't undo his mistakes, or that he didn't get a chance to sort of do over, to be honest with you. So by the time that he killed Thanos in the very early part of the movie, it was an empty gesture and there was nothing for him to go with it. So, don't get me wrong. I did like the, dad bod Big Lebowski Thor that we got going on later in the movie, being the dude that abides. But he was obviously dealing with his own trauma, but he just was completely ill-equipped to process it. And he got to say his thing to his mum. One of the things that I really liked, to be honest with you, was I was a big fan of Agent Carter, the TV series, which didn't get enough plaudits and was cut off, I think, well before its prime. Is that you got to see Jarvis from the TV series in that, appearing in the bit with Tony Howard Stark. I thought that was great, to be honest with you, just to have those sort of little extra added bonuses. There were so many great sort of like comment touches to it, sort of, the to your left and everything like that between Cap and Falcon. That goes back to the Winter Soldier. There was a great touch with that. I like the fact that the only real cursing that you got in it, which was from Captain America, let's go get that son of a bitch, where earlier on in the series he's admonishing them all for their language. So I like the fact that there's so many little touches to it that if you have followed these movies all the way along, that I think you can't help but sort of, it is going to be a checklist and be bingo. Probably there will be, for many years to come, people still finding little touches that have been missed with this movie that is going to have that much a massive rewatch value for Easter eggs. But it is, I've got to say Chris Hemsworth was a real standout for it, and I've got to say Karen Gillan was massively great as well. As part of the female cast, she got more screen time than Brie Larson, which I didn't have a problem with at all, because I think her character was overpowered, and I think hers was built up. Her part was built up a lot in the run up to this. but I think Nebula was superb, to be honest with you. That she had such an amazing journey through the course of this movie alone, and Karen Gillan's acting in this is really, really strong.
Okay, AJ.
Yeah, a few points for me. One, I absolutely love the whole idea of Iron Man being a dad, living a life that he never knew he wanted, but he got it and he wanted to keep that life. I also like the fact that Captain America admires his own ass after fighting himself in the past. I thought that was quite funny. And that beginning scene with Tony and Gamora on the spaceship, playing paper football, and she's like trying to be aggressive. And I thought that was a really good bonding moment between the two characters because they're both like chalk and cheese in a way, their own little world. So there's so many great pairings in this movie. It's just kind of hard to pick, a few here and there, but it's just amazing what they've done.
Okay, William.
You got to give props because once again we had a nice cameo by Stan Lee showing up in this movie. I think it's one of the last ones he did. I think the next Spider-Man might be the last one he did. And also we had a cameo by the creator of Thanos, Gamora, and Drax, Jim Starlin, who was in the room with Captain America doing that little group therapy thing. He was there with, of course, one of the Russo brothers there too. So he got a lot of cameos. You got to give this movie credit. He got a lot of cameos. I mean, you got to watch this multiple times to catch every little thing. I mean, even the young acting Michael Douglas running through the hallway like that. I mean, I was like, what? I wasn't anticipating him being there, but seeing him like that and he was checking off like that was pretty cool. And you got to get, and of course, everybody appearing at Tony Stark's funeral. That was a great scene right there because because you see who's leaving from the Avengers like that, and who are the possibility continuing the legacy, and who might end up being new as an Avenger. Like Ryan said, like that young kid might end up, being taken over that as the Iron Man, or as I said in the beginning, one of the ways that Tony Stark could still come back is as an AI, which he has done in the comics when they thought he died. So he was an AI. It's a computer image, and then of course the AI took over one of the armors to still help out the Avengers. So that's a possibility for how he could come back.
Okay, Philip.
I was going to question William who that guy was that was running down the corridor, because I thought, I know that face, and then they de-aged him, and it was Michael Douglas, as you said. What am I going to say? Right, that Tibetan type woman, the one that works with what's his name? Cumberbatch character.
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange. The Tibetan woman, the woman with the bald head. Now, does that mean
that was the ancient one?
Yeah. Does that mean the ancient one? Now that the timeline's been diverged a bit, does that mean that she's no longer dead, or she still remains dead?
She still remains dead because remember everything went back to where it was. So she has to die. She has to die for Doctor Strange could become the next Sorcerer Supreme.
Understood. Thank you very much.
Okay, Beef, you had your hand up again, so.
Yeah, I was going to say it's sort of a little bit of nerdic trivia and everything like that. Is that Will was just mentioning the funeral scene. It's easy to think that whole scene was all stitched together and it was all people sort of filmed separately and everything like that. But that actual funeral scene, they had the whole cast there to do that all in one place. So that is a legit scene. And if you think about that, about how much money it cost to just have all that people in that same location at the same time, one well-placed bomb would have destroyed the whole of the Marvel universe.
But once again, like I said, it's just amazing, to me, especially growing up with this stuff, on television and all that stuff like that, because I remember like the early attempts at different movies and all that, and they were just, god awful. Either just badly written or the effects were just so bad they were beyond cheap. And, now they've managed to put together basically this saga that has now been wrapped up in this one big movie. But as we were bringing up earlier, there's still all kinds of different possibilities, because there were different Avenger teams. There was the Young Avengers and all that, because I think they made the original guys the Ultimates, and then they went off and did the Young Avengers.
The Ultimates are the Avengers from another universe.
Okay, is that what it is? Okay, I got it mixed up. I was listening to the audio recordings earlier this week. So, okay, Connor.
One person actually that I have to really comment on, who is a great actor, that I don't actually think gets enough credit, is Tom Holland. I think that he's probably the best Spider-Man that they've had, but he's also showing some real promise for the future, because he is an exceptional actor, to be honest, and I didn't expect that as well. He's got real gravitas, and he's just got everything for such a young age. Because I guess that he's the youngest of the cast in terms of the main characters. So to sort of be able to come into a room where you've got people like Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Hemsworth and Brie Larson and all that sort of stuff, and almost be able to stand out for such a young actor is amazing. So I've got really thumbs up for his talent.
Okay, Beef, go ahead.
Obviously, yeah, you know me. I'm very much a modern man, and I'm very woke as well. I would like to say as well that it was nice to see a section of female representation within the movie, where the gauntlet became a football, for want of a better description, that you had a ladies only section.
A-Force. I mean, that kind of go up too.
Yeah, I don't presume to know a lesser. In fact, I don't really see gender. I just saw superheroes. But it was nice to see Pepper in the rescue suit as well. That was a nice fan nod as well. And to have a section of non-male gendered superheroes working together and having their own moment of empowerment, I thought was a fantastic section to have in the film as well. And it wasn't done just to be a ploy to play to anyone as well. It did have its own merit as well, so that was rather good. And I think, like Connor said as well, you've got these sort of big epic saga movies, like you had Return of the King. So when you had all those people come back through all the sort of sling ring portals and everything like that, that was pretty epic, to be honest with you, that you had all the various peoples. You had the Wakandans, you had all the sort of Tibetan mob as well, with Doctor Strange and everything like that. That was rather cool, just to get all those people all at one place. Scarlet Witch, yeah, that was great. No one, we don't know what happened to Vision, but because he's completely gone now, it would appear, with no way back. He was one of the few as well that you could say didn't make an appearance in any way, shape or form. But it was nice to just have all those sort of extra sort of background characters as well just come back for a very large part of the movie. I don't think that there's that we're in a season where there's a lot of big epic on-screen battles at the moment, be it Game of Thrones, be it Endgame, but it was massive in scale. And I didn't notice it being 3 hours long by the time I got to the end of it. That much I would say. It did not feel like 3 hours. Could I have gone a bit longer? Probably not, but my bladder still held out.
Yeah, plus we've been waiting how many freaking movies for Pepper to finally get in that damned rescue suit? It's like, sheesh, we would say, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Okay, AJ, go ahead.
For me, I have an idea how I would have ended the movie differently. Instead of having Stan Lee's cameo where he was driving along, past the army base, right at the end of the movie, the scene fades to black, music comes back up, and then it stops and it fades back into when Tony dies, and his face is like still frozen, and you see a hand comes out, and it's like, wake up, time to get up, and it's Stan Lee, and he's saying to him, basically, thank you for saving my world. I'm, the creator. And he's like, are you God? He's like, no, don't call me God. I'm Stan. And they're walking through everyone. And everyone's frozen in time. It would have been a perfect scene to say goodbye to, just Iron Man's character. And it would have been a nod and a wink to Stan Lee being the creator of this universe and this world that we've, come to see and love.
Okay, Philip?
I did worry a little bit that Miss Marvel, when she made her appearance at the end, I thought that she would be be the one that was to like overthrow the entire thing and solve the whole problem and beat the whole game out, to be honest. But they didn't do that. They balanced her parents out quite nicely. And the fact that she looked like a tomboy towards the end, I was like, what happened to her long hair? Why has she got this?
You got to remember, for 5 years passed, so she,
Oh,
that's the time jump. So 5 years, she when that 5 years, she cut her hair.
So that scene with her and Thor, when he called out his hammer and it went past her head, that was 5 years previously.
You got it.
Okay, my apologies. Okay, good. Fair.
And Philip worried about Captain Marvel's hairstyle.
The haircut is in fitting with the later version of her in the comics as well. So
Yeah, that's what she looks like in the comics.
Okay, go ahead, AJ.
Yeah, I was gonna say that part at the end of the movie where Thanos takes the Power Stone and just punches the crap out of Captain Marvel. I cheered when that happened because I can't stand Captain Marvel at all. She's a terrible actress.
Okay, Connor.
Brie Larson is good in a few things, but I was going to ask actually, as a matter of like sort of franchise logistics, are they setting her up to be the main sort of draw now, the main sort of hero, as Iron Man would have been previously, or Captain America?
That's give and take, you know. It made money. There will be a sequel. Knowing Marvel, she's not going to do the sequel by herself. Somebody's going to appear there also. So.
The problem with her character is she's too powerful by half to be a part of a group, because she can just knock out. Look how she knocked out that spaceship without even batting an eyelid. So I have a problem with her kind of character being too powerful.
Sorry.
Yeah, go on.
I was going to say, you got the exact same problem with Superman. He's too overpowered. The second you put any other characters lesser than them next to that character, instantly everyone is going to pale in comparison to this godlike creature.
Exactly what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Part doesn't really work because you've got them all backing up Captain Marvel. I'm like, she just flew through a ship. And you think she can't just fly through these, like, line of troops? I saw someone actually make a video changing that moment to Nebula actually carrying the gauntlet to the thing and all of them defending Nebula, because I don't think it makes much sense for them to we're going to be backup for Captain Marvel.
The funny thing about that scene, though, is Spider-Man was holding the gauntlet for, 20 minutes or so through the movie? Captain Marvel gets the gauntlet for 2 minutes and she loses it instantly to Thanos. Supposedly the most powerful character in that universe.
Well, remember, Spider-Man got that sticky thing. That's why
it doesn't mean anything.
Okay, B, go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to ask the question, though. Obviously, the stones were taken back to where they were taken from.
Got it.
And there were a lot of good jokes made about time travel movies in this. Time Cop, Terminator, Back to the Future. Being Back to the Future 2 being the best explanation of how timelines break off and having a multiverse. So is this still classified as a single timeline now, or is there now a multiverse?
And Die Hard. Oops. No.
Yeah.
Good question.
I say both.
Go on, Will.
I say both.
You don't create a multiverse when you break something off in time. It becomes a tangent timeline and it runs parallel to its own previous timeline.
It depends it depends on the fracture of that universe. How much of a fracture has become the multiverse, though? So
No. Universes are totally different. They live in separate things. Timelines can run right beside each other and never touch.
Yeah, you're going quantum theory there, yeah. Where each decision made by anybody can split off and form a separate, different, alternative reality. Star Trek stuff. Okay.
Sorry.
Whether they're going to do an appearance of the multi-universe storyline, that's down the line, man. They ain't going to touch that for a while.
Yeah.
No.
They're not going to touch that for a while.
Like I said, there's still rumors flying like crazy. Like I said, they're claiming the next one's going to be Marvel versus X-Men, or Avengers versus X-Men, and it's like, the day I see the cameras start rolling on it, then I'll believe it. Okay.
I doubt that.
Yeah, because who they going to bring in? It's like, look at how much the budget cost alone on this one just to pay the actors.
Yeah,
I see I see it when if they do another Avengers movie, the main threat either is going to be Kang the Conqueror or the Secret Invasion with the Skrulls. That's the only two I could think of.
Okay, Beef, go ahead.
Has that much of a threat.
I may disagree with Will. I may think it will be Namor.
No, I know what you're talking about. They mentioned something that happened underwater.
They mentioned an earthquake underneath the Atlantic Ocean. There'll be a very upset Atlantean showing up.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna hit you on that. The rumor is he might appear in Black Panther 2. So let's leave that alone. That's the rumor.
But isn't he a mutant, Will?
He's a mutant, yeah.
Yeah, because they own the rights to mutants and all that now, don't they?
Yeah, they got it back.
Yep, that's right. Yep, sorry.
Everything's coming back. It's going to all belong to the mouse.
And then, of course, Thor leaving with the Guardians of the Galaxy sets up the third movie that's going to be filmed. So you're going to see Thor in it. Whether he's going to be in it during the whole movie, I don't know. Because the rumor is that they're all going to make another Thor movie. So maybe he leaves doing that, and then it will go to his next movie. So that's like how he could do it.
Right. Okay.
One other thing about Thor, though, no one was fat-shaming Thor throughout the movie, so stop saying that online, please, everybody. He was not being fat-shamed.
Yeah, because I'm a fat guy and I didn't see any fat shaming on Thor, okay? So
That was ridiculous how they did that with him, though. Made him look like that. I was like, okay, that's good.
Like, everyone laughed when they first saw him, and then that was it. But then you had people who would mention it throughout the movie. There was no fat-shaming. Shut up, people. Shut up, Internet.
Now I can say I do have the body of a god. That's not Buddha or whoever else you may worship. I don't see race or gender or religion.
does that mean I can cosplay Fat Thor now? There we go. I don't look anything for
It was nice to see Jacqueline Bissett's 1 second cameo at the end. I like that. I thought, she's there. Where's Batman?
Go on ahead.
Well, where do we go from here now? After that,
Here's a question. Knowing that Peter Parker Spider-Man came back, and of course time jumped 5 years. Did he age 5 years, or he's still stuck in the same year?
Good question.
Because remember, he was born on a certain year, so in reality, he's 5 years older, but he hasn't finished high school because he came back. So that's a weird thing because in legal sense, he could drink alcohol. if you age him 5 years, it's 21.
Yeah, I got to think about that. They mentioned that a line in the movie. They said, bring everyone back as they were back then, but don't change anything now. That's what Iron Man said. So basically, he's still 16.
They brought him back 5 years later. They're still the same, but
they're still the same age.
In the legal sense, he's 21. He could drink alcohol.
Nah, technically, he's still what age he was when he left. So,
probably, yeah.
So he's just boned. Okay, Beef.
I don't know, because I'm mixed on that one because although Far From Home is supposed to be the closing out of this phase of it, I'm sort of a little bit way inclined to think that Far From Home happens before Infinity War.
That's what I'm thinking.
No, it takes place after.
Really? Because the thing is, I like to think they've gone to Europe and they're coming back from the trip on the bus when he first sees the ship over New York.
No, that's why Nick Fury's going to appear in this movie. I think because that legal nonsense that I was saying. So he might have to intervene.
You can make both work, though, right now. Until we see the movie, we can make both work. But I tell you what, there's a lot of red tape as well to sort out, obviously, with, the ones that were left behind. And I tell you what, there's going to be a lot of cleanup, that's for sure.
All I can say, folks, is this. It's an incredible journey. You know, how many hours of movies have led up to this particular event? And this wraps it up beautifully. So now it's that time where I must ask you, out of 10, how do you rate Avengers Endgame? And let's start with Philip.
Well, it's kind of easy for me. It's an easy 10 because it's a massive movie that's worthy of a high score. So, yeah, definitely a 10.
Okay, AJ?
Oh, I'm gonna have to go a 9.5 out of 10. It was a good movie, but it had a few little downfalls here and there.
All right, William?
I'm gonna give it a 9.5. Now, knowing how much money this thing made as of today, will it get really considered for real Oscar nominations? And I'm not talking about special effects. I'm talking about for Robert Downey Jr. for acting, for the film, for the Russo brothers for directing. Will they get considered for that? Now, whether they win or not, that's something else. But will they get considered for that? That's the thing.
I read an article, I think it was last night, early this morning, where that Disney is pushing for an Oscar for Robert Downey Jr. for this movie. So if the mouse is behind it, there's a good chance it could happen. Okay, Connor.
I'll give it an 8 out of 10. And to comment on the Oscars thing, I think that unfortunately what they've done is that they've put this in a year where there's going to be so much strong competition anyway for Best Actor of the more sort of like serious drama films. So, for example, Leonardo DiCaprio in Tarantino's next. You're going to have like them sort of actors like bringing in performances that I think is going to make this film overlooked. But they're still bringing in that category for most popular film, are they not? So they could technically...
No, they took that out.
Oh, right, so that's gone completely. I thought it was just for last year. But, yeah, so obviously... I don't know. They might get a nomination for, like, obviously visual effects. Might get a nomination for best film, but because Black Panther did, obviously. But I'm not sure about acting.
I heard Chris Evans is up for best ass. Okay. Ryan, out of 10. How do you rate this one?
Easy 10. The way this movie is able to just go through so many different emotions and to make you care about all of these characters over such a long time. Didn't even talk about the emotional payoff of Hawkeye and his journey in the movie, becoming Ronin, and just everything that it was able to give to the characters in the 3-hour runtime. And really the only like little nitpicks I can think of is just the logics of all female characters on a battlefield being in one place for one scene, but I can discount that. And I honestly think, even though it would have confused a more casual audience, I think Coulson should have been at the end with Tony's funeral. But besides that, an absolutely perfect movie, probably the best superhero movie of all time.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to mention, I really wish they could have just had Coulson there anyway, even though by that time his character would have probably been dead. Still, I think it would have been fitting if he'd actually been there myself. I forgot to mention that, yeah. Okay, Beef.
This film is wholly unique, I would say, within the genre of any sort of cinema, to be honest with you. There's so much sort of prelim and leading back to into it, but it didn't have to make any explanations for backstory or anything like that in it. So I was sort of wavering and saying, oh, do I give it a 9, 9.5? But I think because it is so wholly unique that you've got to give it 10. Like Will and Connor were saying, I think the best film, the best popular film, I think was put on hold this year, for which Black Panther was nominated for it to come back this year. And if it does, then this has got to have it hands down, to be honest with you. Does Robert Downey Jr. deserve a nomination? Yeah, I think he probably does. Would he deserve to win it over the strength of it? I think his charm and personality win anyway the hearts and the minds of the fans, to be honest with you. So I don't think him to win an Oscar is really a necessary thing for this movie to get the credit it deserves. So I think, yeah, you've got to give it a 10 out of 10. Everyone, I think, got an emotional payoff insofar as your principal cast are concerned. They've done an effective thing, and they've signed out everyone like they did at the end of the movie, like they did with Star Trek 6. It's a fitting closure for your original cast now, and has made a great lead-in for whatever's going to come next. So, it's 10 out of 10 and Al Hydra.
Look at it this way. it's definitely going to have a lower budget because now we can bring in a bunch of unknowns and call them Avengers. But okay. Because like I said, I think half the budget on this movie alone must have went to the cast. Come on, look at all the names that were in there. But yeah, I agree with you all. This is definitely a 10 because, this is a movie that's 3 hours plus long, yet it kept you there, on the edge of your seat pretty much for pretty close the whole movie. And that's very hard to do these days, with the fact that, face it, I'm American and we have the attention span of gnats. Look at who we elected president. But, the fact that you can keep somebody interested in a story and keep them going through this many movies and then keep them sitting in a theater for 3 hours, fully focused, fully, attent on the story. And then you've got them coming back again and again. That don't happen very often anymore. You're lucky if people come back to a movie that's an hour and a half long, let alone twice that. And that right here pretty much sums up why this is definitely a 10. These guys really knocked it out of the park. And this one, I think by the time this one's done, it's going to set the bar so high for top box office. It's going to be quite a while before anyone else even comes close to breaking it. Okay, folks. Well, that was fun. And we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. So please, whatever you're doing out there, do not try any of that stuff you saw in the movie at home. Let alone try to get the best ass award because you're not going to get it. Okay. Have a great night. See you on the flip side. Take care, kids.
See you.